so it wasn't really a crossover. But the step over sort of like has put itself in everyone's memory as being insulting. Then we got this in the finals.
Guard
LeBron
your eyes,
steps over
children.
Draymond.
Look at that disgusting act of violence.
Draymond ends up getting suspended for the next game. Well, last night, Marcus Morris says, I'm a student of the game. Let me step over Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert tries to trip him. Here's why this is such an effective move. It is the best way to insult someone, and then where you can just say, what was I doing? Like Marcus Morris literally like, what am I supposed to do? You can't push a guy. You can't, call them names or anything. You can get teed up for that, for taunting. Even if you dunk on someone and stare at somebody, you could get attacked. But if you just step over someone and claim, hey, I was headed to where I was going, you can draw a foul, you can draw a technical foul on somebody, and just totally demoralize them. So savvy move by Marcus Morris, set the tone for the entire game.
Well love how NBA guys get
Some of the
so
best
mad.
defense.
Why you get so mad?
Gobert played all night. Right there.
See, in football,
Time
you
for
can
drawing
just
a
get up
blank.
and hit them.
That is true, Brandon.
LeBron yesterday weighed in on the injuries in the playoffs. Had a series of tweets. I'm going to read them all to you. They all didn't want to listen to me about the start of the season. I knew exactly what would happen. I only wanted to protect the well-being of the players, which ultimately is the product and benefit of our game. These injuries aren't just part of the game. It's the lack of pure rim rest before starting back up. 8, possibly 9 All-Stars have missed playoff games, most in league history. This is the best time of the year for our league and fans, but missing a ton of our favorite players, it's insane. If there's one person that knows about the body and how it works all year round, it's me. Okay. I speak for the health of all our players, and I hate to see this many injuries this time of the year. Sorry, fans. Wish you guys were seeing all your favorite guys right now. Okay. So, Brandon, LeBron's comments on the slew of playoff injuries is what?
Feels like a bit of positioning for me here. I mean, there's so much to this conversation. We literally can take an entire hour to break it down. We could talk about last year, the pandemic and how every company, every business was trying to figure out how to move forward, right? The TV deal, that's big. You got to pay the players back. You got to pay yourselves. They had to get those games in. And there's so much more you can talk about. But I say positioning because this load the NBA players been carrying for years, it seems to be a little bit too much. And LeBron James has always been one of those guys lead in major discussions. It seems like he's trying to get back to the table to talk about how do we look at the schedule again. I know before the pandemic, they made some changes. They moved up the schedule 2 weeks or so there's not as many back-to-backs. But at the end of the day, it's still too much. We're talking about 82 games and traveling all over the country. I know we love our basketball, but do we love our basketball that much, Nick?
Well, and what we really love is playoff basketball with the best players at their best playing against each other, and unfortunately, we're not going to get that this year. Listen, this is spot on by LeBron. And I understand the counter argument that so many people are making is, players agreed to it. Chris Paul, NBA Players Association, they agreed to it. It is not a true negotiation when there is a gun to your head. The players agreed to it, understanding that if they didn't, the NBA could use the force majeure clause in the collective bargaining agreement and blow everything up, and that it would cost the players billions of dollars. So yes, they agreed to it, but they had no other alternative. It was, you don't agree, it wasn't a hostage situation, but it wasn't a true negotiation either. So LeBron and other players did try to put the warning out there. Now, do I think LeBron's injury was caused by this? No, LeBron's injury was caused by a bad player playing out of control. But Anthony Davis's injuries might have been caused by this. The fact that he came into the season unhealthy, never got the full rest, never got fully right. And so there's, to me, Mike Conley's an example of an injury. James Harden's injuries. All of those things are real possibilities as to injuries that maybe wouldn't have happened. Not LeBron, not Kyrie. Those are different types of injuries. But guys on those guys' teams, LeBron's teammate, Kyrie's teammates, certainly.
Yeah, so look, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence. It does not prove a causality. And if anything, LeBron's tweet storm sort of brings up more questions than answers. And look, it's a worthy discussion as we move forward and saying like, hey, should we continue to sort of eliminate back-to-backs? Should we make the season a little bit longer? Should we try to institute more rest? Should we make All-Star Weekend even longer? Look, there's plenty of questions here to try to examine, but the league takes this seriously. Mike Bass came out and was like, hey, by the way, the injury rate overall was on par with previous years. And just because some of your favorite players are being injured doesn't mean like their health is any more or less important than the role player who didn't get injured. So it's interesting moving forward. I know the league takes it seriously.
Are they playing as many minutes?
I'm just talking about personal. I'm talking about personal health.
Minutes.
I'm talking about personal health.
I know. No, I get that, Wilds. No, that's fair. But sorry, never mind. Go ahead.
Moving on. Yeah, you know what? We'll do it for the podcast after the show. Let's talk coaching vacancies. 5 jobs available. Celtics, Magic, Pelicans, Trailblazers, and now the Wizards. All looking for a new bench boss. Brandon, best NBA head coaching vacancy is what?
I don't like any of them. The Magic, the Wizards, get out of here. Beat it. Even the Blazers. The Blazers reached their peak, but if you're forcing me to pick one, Wilds, I'm going to go with the Pelicans. This is the only team that has a generational player. We're talking about Zion and what he's able to do. They move him to what position is that, Nick? Point forward? I love how the NBA is making up these positions now, right? So I got to go with the Pelicans, but there is an argument for the Celtics because you got Tatum and you got Brown, and now you got Danny Ainge out of there. So let's see what happens out there in Beantown.
Well, let me tell you what I wanted to answer, but the producers, as they often do on the show, censored me, said, Nick, this is a morning show, you can't be that mean. The best head coaching vacancy is the Bucks. It's just not open for another 96 hours, but it's the Bucks. But the actual answer of the ones that are open is the Pelicans. Oh, Brandon.
Oh, so you're picking
what
the
have
Nets?
I told you? What have I told you that, well, more on that later. There was a #1 overall pick who's a generational talent who went through coach after coach after coach until they got it right. And now they could be championship contenders. You'd say, Nick, you're talking about the Cleveland Browns. And I would say, I am. But I'm also talking about the New Orleans Pelicans. So the New Orleans Pelicans, you get it right like the Browns did with Stefanski, and all of a sudden, whoever gets this job, you could have the job for a decade. You could have the job for a decade, Wilds, if you get it right.
Talking about the Brownies right now.
But if you get it right, Wilds, you could have this job for a long time if you and Zion gel and they do some of the things better than Stan Van was doing.
Yeah, I wonder how much sort of institutional funk there is in New Orleans. Like, I still think when J.J. Redick left and basically said, like, I got lied to, I felt like that was sort of a canary in the coal mine of having some real problems there. The Celtics job I don't love just because Brad Stevens, who used to be the coach, is now your boss. So I just feel like it's hard to have total sort of control over your decisions when the former coach is kind of like literally a few rows back from you. I don't like the Trailblazers job because I don't know if there's enough roster moves you can make. Believe it or not, I like the Magic job. If I was a first-time head coach, like, all right, what do I need to do? Get the 8th seed? I'm telling you, it's a nice job for someone to come in, get the 8th seed, actually start building something.
You'll be there for a year and a half.
The bar of success is so low. I love it. It's a great job, and it's sunny.
You'll be there for a year
and a half. Let me tell you something, Wilds. I adore you as a friend and a coworker, and I would hate to lose you, but I think you could get the Magic job. I don't think there's a lot of people applying for it. I'll write you a reference.
Call your boy Adam Silver.
If you think it's the best job, I think you calling it the best job puts you at the top of the list.
Right. Yeah.
I think the DeVos family is like, hey, he wants the gig.
You could be basketball operations.
I think
while
you could
going into the team meeting,
Not
talking
interested.
about the moon and
I'm going to hold out for
all
a
this
better
other
gig,
stuff.